All right, guys, we are going to be looking at pages 10 through 12 in your packets today, so if you could go ahead and get it open. We're going to be converting weights both within the customary system and within the metric system. So the first thing we're going to be looking at, once you've gotten to page 10, you can always pause me if you need to, our number of ounces in a pound. So we're going to be converting between ounces and pounds. And if you look at your conversion sheet, you would see that there are 16 ounces in 1 pound. I'm not exactly sure where they got those abbreviations from, but those are the abbreviations for ounces and pounds. All right, I have stressed this many times, and I think we're getting to the point where some of us are really understanding it, but if I go from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, you divide, and if I go from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, you multiply. Okay, and our conversion here between ounces and pounds again is 16 ounces equals 1 pound. Okay, that is the conversion we're going to need to use here. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our two example problems down at the bottom. And we are looking first to convert 156 ounces to pounds. Okay, so if we are going from a smaller unit here to a larger unit, we are going to divide. Correct. So I have 156 ounces equals how many pounds? We don't know, but I do know that there are 16 ounces in 1 pound. Since I'm dividing, I could do long division here, and I'm going to do it both ways. I'm going to do long division, but I'm also going to set it up as a fraction so you can see both ways of looking at it. So if I'm going to do long division, I have 16 divided into 156. And just in case we have a remainder or some decimal places, I'm going to actually put 0.00 and bring my decimal point up. Okay, so I have 16 goes into 56. Now logically, if you look at this, 16 times 10 would be 160. 156 is just a little less than that, so the most logical place to start would be 9. And 9 times 6 is 54. Carry the 5. That gives you 144. When you subtract, that gives you 12. So that worked. We're going to bring down a 0. 16 goes into 120. Well, if 16 times 9 is 144, and 16 doubled is 32, which is right around there, it makes most sense to multiply by 5. Or excuse me, 7. So 7 times 6 is 42. Carry the 4. 7 times 1 plus 4 is 11. When we subtract, that gives me an 8. Bring down the 0. And 16 goes into 80 5 times. So then our answer here is 9 7/75 pounds. Okay? But let's look at doing it, setting up a fraction. Okay, so the same problem, but setting it up fractionally. If I'm going to do 156 divided by 16, I can set it up as a fraction, 156 over 16. And I'm going to start both of those by dividing by 2, because they're both even. So 2 goes into 16, that one's easy, 8, and 2 goes into 156, 2 goes into 15, 7 times with 1 left over, and 2 goes into 16, 8 times. Well, again, we have 2 even numbers, so I'm going to divide top and bottom again by 2. And we get 2 goes into 7 3 times with 1 left over. 2 goes into 18, 9, all over 4. 39 is prime, so we cannot reduce that any further. So now we're going to change the improper fraction, 39/4, into a mixed number. 4 goes into 39 9 times, that's 36. So I'm going to subtract 36, and that gives me 3 out of 4 left over. And yes, 9 3/4 is equal to 9 7/75. You can decide which way you prefer to do the division, because when you're taking your test, you're not going to be allowed to use a calculator. You're going to have to be able to do the division on your own. All right. So let's go ahead and look at converting the second problem. How many ounces are there in 2.5 pounds? So we have 2.5 pounds equals, I don't know how many ounces. I'm converting from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, so I'm going to multiply. The conversion is 16 ounces equals 1 pound, so I'm going to multiply 16 by 2.5, and that gives me 30, carry the 3, 8, bring down the 0, 12, carry the 1, another 3. So I have 0, 0, 1, and that gives me 4. I need to move the decimal point over one place here in the problem, so I'm going to move it here one place, and that gives you an answer of 40 ounces. For those of you who like learning tricks to do it in your head, if I do 2.5 times 16, I can simply do 2 times 16, which is 32, and then a half of 16, which is 8. Add them together, and lo and behold, you get the same answer, 40. That's how you do it in your head. All right. You are wanting to look fresh for a big night out, so you went to Foot Locker to acquire up some new kicks. I would never speak that way, so you know I didn't type that. You left with 2 bags. The first bag weighed 24 ounces, and the second bag weighed 20 ounces. How many pounds of each merchandise were you carrying? So let's go ahead and do a little cubing here. We have 24 ounces and 20 ounces. Okay, we left with 2 bags, so those are all of our numbers. The question is, how many pounds of merchandise were you carrying? There's nothing extra here. I suppose you could say the 2 bags because those don't factor into solving our problems because we know how many ounces they were. Okay, so let's look at how we're going to solve this one. It says, be mindful, the information in the problem is given in ounces, but the answer must be given in pounds. You need to remember that the 1 pound equals 6 ounces. 16 ounces, sorry. So the first thing we need to do is find out how many total ounces there were. There were 24 in one bag plus 20 in the other bag, and that gives you 44 total ounces. We want to know 44 ounces equals how many pounds. Our conversion is 16 ounces equals 1 pound. I'm converting from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, so I'm going to divide. And in this case, I think it's much easier to set it up as a fraction and reduce. And the reason why is because it should be obvious to us that they're both divisible by 4. 44 divisible by 4 is 11. 16 divisible by 4 is 4. 4 goes into 11 2 times with 3 out of 4 left over. And then the label on that would be pounds. You are carrying 2 3/4 pounds of merchandise. Okay? All right, next. The Panthers win again. This means you took advantage of the sweet victory deal. If you bought 3 boxes of donuts, each having a weight of 2 3/4 pounds, what is the weight of the boxes in ounces? Now remember, pause me, okay, but I don't want my video to last 30 minutes, so I go fairly quickly because you have the ability to pause. All right, let's go ahead and cube the question. If you bought 3 boxes of donuts, each having a weight of 2 3/4 pounds, what is the weight of the boxes? So our question is, what are the weight of the boxes in ounces? There's nothing we can eliminate, okay? And now we're going to be ready to solve. Let's look at their little pointers here. 2 3/4 pounds is repeated 3 times. Okay, so what are we going to have to do that number? Ounces to pounds, you divide by 16, and pounds to ounces, you multiply by 16. All right, so now let's look at what we're going to need to do. And first, before we do any converting, we have 2 3/4 pounds, and we have 3 times that. So I have 3 over 1 times 2 3/4. We need to convert the 2 3/4 to an improper fraction. So I have 3 over 1 times 8 plus 3 is 11/4. Now I can multiply across, and I have 33/4. But this just gives me how many ounces there are. Okay, so that means I have, and I'm not going to change it back to a mixed number because in order to divide, I'm just going to have to change it back, so I'm going to leave it. So I have 33/4 ounces, and I want to know how many pounds that is. So if I have 33/4 ounces, and I want to find out how many pounds that is, what are we going to do? Correct, we're going to divide. So if I'm going from a smaller to a bigger, I'm going to divide. So I have 33/4 divided by 16. And because I'm doing division, I'm going to rewrite that over 1. All right? Are you following me so far? Okay, great. What do we do when we divide? We keep, switch, flip. So we're going to keep the first, and we're going to switch to multiplication and flip. Were we able to cross cancel the 14 and the 16 here? No, you can't do that until you change it to multiplication. I can't cancel anything, so I'm just going to multiply across, and I have 33/64. That is my final answer. I can't rewrite it as a mixed number, and it cannot be reduced, and our label is pounds. Okay? Questions? If you have questions, just stop the video and come ask me. All right. Now we're going to convert from grams to kilograms and kilograms to grams. Well, if you remember, the prefix kilo is 1,000. Okay, 1,000. So there are 1,000 grams. We're in the metric system, and that's equal to 1 kilogram. Okay, weight in the metric system is usually done in kilograms. A gram is about the weight of a paperclip. Okay, so if we look at this again, if we are going to convert from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, we're going to divide, and from a big or smaller to bigger you divide, and bigger to smaller you multiply. Okay, and remember too that I can write 1,000 as 10 to the third. All right. How many of you are excited for the Avengers movie? I'm so excited. All right, as part of your initiation to the Avengers, you had to compete against the Hulk in a lifting contest. #FitFam. You lifted 15 objects in a single motion. Each object had a mass of 475 grams. The Hulk, with a casual smirk, lifted a single object that had a mass of 7 kilograms. Which isn't very much, by the way. Do you have what it takes to become an Avenger? Who lifted more weight? All right, so we're going to be comparing the two. And so here's the stuff we need to know. You had, let me change this here, 15 objects at 475 grams each, and he had one object at 7 kilograms. Okay, grams to kilograms, the conversion is 1,000 or 10 to the third. And that's what we're going to be looking at as we solve this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find out how much your weight was total in grams. So we're going to have to take the 475 for each object. We're going to multiply that by 15. So we have 5, carry the 2, 35 plus 2 is 7, carry the 3, 20 plus 3 is 23. Bring down a 0. We have 5, 7, 4. Add them. And we have 7,125 ounces. Okay? But I need to convert 7,125 ounces equals how many? Oop, my fault. Not ounces, grams. That is my fault. We were doing ounces before. Grams. Excuse me, and how many kilograms is that equal to? Our conversion is that 1 kilogram equals 10 to the third, or 1,000 grams. So we are simply going to take my 7,125, whose decimal point is at the end, and we're going to, since I'm going from a smaller to a larger label, I'm going to divide by 1, 2, 3, 10 to the third, 3 places. So you lifted 7 and 125 thousandths kilograms. He only lifted 7 kilograms. So therefore, you proved that you are stronger than Hulk. Okay? Alright, I think this is our last question. Alright, you have 3 pet frogs. Their names are Ribbit, Sir Hopsalot, and Bouncy J. I could be Bouncy J because my husband calls me Jay. Ribbit weighs 9 and 75 hundredths kilograms. Hopsalot weighs 15 and 35 hundredths kilograms. And Bouncy J weighs 3 and 8/10ths kilograms. How many more grams does Sir Hopsalot weigh than the combined weight of Ribbit, Bouncy J, and Bouncy J together? Well, the nice thing about this, does it ask it to do? Oh, yep, here we go. How many more grams does he weigh? All right, so we won't convert until the very end. So we're going to have to do a little bit of subtraction, and then we're going to have to do some converting at the end. So we want to know how many more grams does Sir Hopsalot, right here, weigh than the combined of the other two. So we have to add the other two first. So we have Ribbit is 9 and 75 hundredths. Bouncy J is 3 and 8/10ths. Add those together, and you get 13 and 55 hundredths. Okay. Next, we have to take Sir Hopsalot's weight in kilograms. This is a heavy frog, by the way. And 35 hundredths kilograms, and we're going to subtract 13 and 55 hundredths. He weighs 1 and 8/100 kilograms more, but we want to know how many more grams does he weigh. So I have 1 and 8/10 kilograms equals how many grams? My conversion is 1 kilogram equals 10 to the third, or 1,000 grams. Since I'm converting from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to take the 1 and 8/10 and I'm going to multiply it by 10 to the third, and that means I'm going to take that decimal point and I'm going to literally move it oops. I guess it's not going to let me just do the decimal point. I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 places to the right, fill in those with zeros, and the difference is 1,800 grams. All right. I think that's it because I didn't give you these questions, which is fine. You can go ahead and stop. If you are finished before the end of the period, you have free time, and have a great weekend.